Facebook's Messenger was growing pre-COVID, but this past year during the pandemic, usage has spiked. And now more than 1 billion people globally use Facebook's Messenger every month. Joining us to talk about that explosive growth and what lies ahead is Stan Chudnovsky, VP of Messenger at Facebook. We're also joined by our tech editor, Dan Howley. Hello, Stan, and thanks so much for being with us. This past year has really been one of tremendous and rapid growth, specifically for Messenger and some other Facebook apps like WhatsApp. But tell us how Messenger in particular has evolved during the pandemic.
Well, what really happened, the way we are thinking about it, is that all the trends that were already in place, even before the pandemic, got accelerated by pandemic. People obviously used VoIP as a way to communicate, making audio and video calls and spending a lot of time with people in this environment. But obviously, pandemic just increased the usage of those things. Just to share some numbers, we saw almost 150% increase in times that people spent in calls and rooms, for example. People spent 40% more time and increased their usage of all the stuff around business messaging, spending more time messaging businesses versus just calling them. And that was another trend that existed before, but the COVID really accelerated. And it's one of the things that I also wanted to mention. We saw 3.5 times more people using Messenger Kids, which is one of the applications that we delivered for parents, where parents can control the usage of their children and know who they're communicating with. And that also just literally exploded, even though it was already on a pretty good trajectory. So overall, all the trends that we sort of kind of were investing even before the pandemic started got really on the new track and really accelerated throughout.
Stan, this is Dan. I saw during the pandemic how Messenger kind of opened up more video capabilities to users. And I guess, at what point did you make those decisions? And then, where do you see that going? Do you see Messenger and video kind of being tied together permanently as far as video leading the way versus standard text or emojis, things along those lines?
Oh, it's an excellent question. Thank you for asking it. Yes, we launched a bunch of new products when it comes down to video. One of them, for example, is Watch Together, where a group of people can get together and actually watch a full-length movie. And it's very different from how you would do it otherwise, because it starts from a group of people actually getting together, and then you decide what you want to watch, and you can actually be in different places. We are trying to replicate what's happening in a living room, but make people comfortable with doing it when they are not in the same place at the same time. And again, pandemic accelerated that, but we see those trends to continue to accelerate with or without pandemic going forward. Now, when you're asking about how we're seeing the communication evolving, we just see it as a full-fledged service where, yes, you start with text, you start with simple way to express yourself, sending emoji or GIFs or different types of memes. But then you go into call, and then you go into video call, and it's a simple upgrade. Because remember, 20 years ago, you probably just would have called somebody, and now it's probably slightly less complicated than that. You're probably going to send them a message and say, hey, do you have 5 minutes for a call? And then once they say yes, then you call them, and you would like it to be from the same application. And once you're talking to someone, you are like, well, hey, let me show you what's going on around me. And then you switch to video, and now you're in a video call. And then you're having some topic that is interesting to you and you think it might be interesting to somebody else, and then you add that person to that call, and now you have a group call. And then all of a sudden you are talking about something that is super interesting and you think larger audience might be interested in that. And then boom, you press another button and then you are live with a group of friends. And this is also products that we have. And then all the people who follow you on Facebook can also see what you are talking about. So we look at that as a whole spectrum of services. We don't look at that just as text, but we do think that it all starts from simple text and then evolves and gets richer and richer, deeper and deeper your connection or your conversation with whoever you're talking to goes.
Stan, we've seen increased scrutiny about the role that messaging apps can play when it comes to hate speech, to misinformation. In fact, that was sort of the heart of the tech hearings we saw yesterday, in which Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg and the head of Twitter and Google's Alphabet also attended. I know that Messenger in particular has added some tools to guide users with all of that. Can you tell us about what you've done, especially during the past few months?
Well, we did a couple of things that we thought were very important, and we take our responsibilities very seriously, and I think it came through very eloquently throughout the Mark's testimony yesterday on the Hill. But a couple of things that we did is that we're relying heavier and heavier on user reporting when it comes down to the information that's being spread. And when people are reporting certain things that have been sent to them that they don't think is something that should have been sent to them, then that report is obviously very private, because person decides to actually report what has been happening in the particular thread. And then after it's reported, then we can look at that, and team can look at that, and then it can decide where and how we should react. And another thing that we did is that we just try to make sure that we limit number of times one particular individual can forward particular type of message, just to make sure that you can't just endlessly broadcast certain things that seem sensational but aren't necessarily truthful. And so between these two things, I think we are actually landing in a very good place where we are continuing to protect people's privacy, but at the same time allowing people to report to us whenever there are certain types of misinformation that's being spread around.
Stan, I want to ask about the business aspect of Messenger, or how Messenger is used in business. Can you kind of give us an idea of how businesses are using it at this point? I know you mentioned it a bit earlier.
Yeah, a couple of things to say there, but I would start with a specific type of ads, which we call click-to-messaging ads, that any business can buy right now. And this ad will appear on Facebook, or it will appear on Instagram. But then once the person clicks on that particular ad, it opens up a thread between that person and the business. And then real conversation is happening between the person and the customer service representative who is on another side. Or certain parts of conversation can also be automated as well. So the users of this type of ads are largely small businesses, but it's also one of the fastest growing ads product for us as a company, because people are expecting this type of conversation with businesses more and more. They actually prefer that more and more versus just seeing the phone number of the business and calling them. And it also allows business to actually address the needs of people better. And it goes from the ad to the thread to completed transaction at some point later, which allows both people and businesses to be very, very satisfied. Otherwise, obviously, this line of business wouldn't be growing as quickly as possible. No. So we're actually very excited about that.
Stan, before we let you go, we've seen explosive growth in companies that do things similar to what you do there at Facebook with Messenger. In particular, I'm talking about Zoom. How have you been able to respond to the growth they've been seeing, and do you see them all as a competitor to what you do there at Facebook?
Well, we're huge fans of what Zoom has accomplished over the last couple of years and what they've been able to do over the last year. We see our place. We see our place as a place where we are actually helping people to do more and more in the social environment. And we feel that where we end up is that in really empowering that social connection between people that are close together. And it's something that we have huge expertise around, and we genuinely believe that all of those products need to be built around people first and technology second, and that is our approach to audio and video services, and we're going to continue to push for it going forward.
All right, Stan Chudnovsky, VP of Messenger at Facebook, thanks so much for stopping by. Have a good weekend.